The town of Black Hollow sat hidden between endless forests in northern Maine. Most people drove through it without ever noticing it existed. There were no tourist attractions, no busy streets, and no reason for outsiders to stop, except for one thing. At the end of a forgotten road stood a house that nobody could explain. Locals called it the Memory House. The name sounded harmless. It wasn't. For decades, people had vanished after spending a night inside. Not many, just enough. A traveler here, a drifter there, a family who left without a trace. Each disappearance was separated by years, making it easy for police to dismiss the stories as coincidences. But the people of Black Hollow knew better. The house was hungry, and it never forgot a face. Ethan Carter had never heard any of those stories. At 28, he was a freelance photographer who traveled across America, documenting abandoned places. His followers loved eerie locations, old hospitals, forgotten churches, ghost towns. The creepier the place, the more views he got. When he discovered an online listing for a large abandoned Victorian house in Black Hollow, he immediately became interested. The photos showed a massive 3-story structure hidden among dead trees. The listing contained only one sentence: property available, stay as long as you want, no charge. That should have been suspicious. Instead, Ethan saw opportunity, a free place to stay while creating content. He packed his camera equipment and began the 12-hour drive north. Rain followed him almost the entire journey. By sunset, dark clouds covered the sky. His GPS lost signal repeatedly as he entered the dense forests surrounding Black Hollow. The roads became narrower. The trees seemed taller. Eventually, a rusted sign appeared. Welcome to Black Hollow, population 381. Someone had scratched deep claw marks across the sign. Ethan smiled. Perfect. He grabbed his camera and took a few photographs before continuing. The town looked frozen in time. Old wooden buildings lined the streets. Most shops were closed, despite it being early evening. People walked quickly with their heads down. Nobody smiled. Nobody waved. Nobody looked happy to see a visitor. Ethan stopped at a small diner. The bell above the door jingled as he entered. Every conversation inside instantly stopped. 10 pairs of eyes turned toward him. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the customers quietly returned to their meals. The atmosphere felt wrong, cold, like he had interrupted a funeral. A waitress approached. You passing through? Just visiting. Her face fell. How long? A few days. The waitress hesitated. Where are you staying? Ethan showed her the listing on his phone. The moment she saw the photograph, her hands began shaking. You need to leave. Ethan laughed. What? You need to leave tonight. Her voice wasn't joking. Again. They were staring, listening. One old man slowly stood from his booth. His skin looked pale, almost gray. You don't stay there. Ethan smiled awkwardly. It's just an abandoned house. No. The old man's eyes widened. It's waiting. Silence filled the diner. Nobody laughed. Nobody smiled. The old man seemed genuinely terrified. The waitress stepped closer. If you hear someone calling your name tonight. She swallowed. Don't answer. An hour later, Ethan arrived at the house. It stood alone atop a hill, surrounded by dying trees. The structure looked larger than it had in the photographs, much larger. The windows resembled dark eyes. The steep roof disappeared into the darkness above. Lightning flashed. For a brief second, Ethan thought he saw someone standing at an upstairs window. A tall figure, watching him. Then darkness returned. The window was empty. He blamed the storm, nothing more. The front door opened surprisingly easily. The interior smelled of dust and old wood. Yet something felt strange. The house didn't seem abandoned. There were no cobwebs, no collapsed floors, no signs of decay. It looked as if someone had cleaned it recently. His flashlight swept across the entrance hall. Portraits covered the walls, dozens of them. Men, women, children. Every painting appeared extremely realistic, almost photographic. Their eyes seemed alive, following him, watching. Ethan set up his equipment. He filmed several introduction shots. The content would be great. His viewers loved creepy places. By midnight, he had explored most of the first floor. Nothing supernatural happened. No strange sounds, no ghosts, no moving shadows. The house felt completely ordinary. The locals had scared themselves with old stories. That was all. Eventually, he settled into an upstairs bedroom. Rain hammered the windows. Thunder echoed across the forest. Exhausted from driving, he quickly fell asleep. Something woke him. A voice, soft, distant. Ethan. Ethan. His eyes opened. The room was dark. He checked his phone. 3:17 a.m. The voice came again. Ethan. A woman, whispering, somewhere inside the house. He sat upright. His pulse quickened. Maybe another explorer had entered. Maybe someone needed help. The voice sounded frightened. Ethan. This time it came from the hallway, right outside the door. He froze. How did they know his name? The diner. The waitress. If you hear someone calling your name tonight, don't answer. A nervous laugh escaped him. Coincidence. Nothing more. The voice sounded closer now, almost pressed against the door. His hand reached for the flashlight, then stopped, because another sound followed. Scratching. Slow. Gentle. Like fingernails dragging across wood. The scratching traveled from the top of the door all the way down. Then silence. Absolute silence for nearly a minute. Ethan forced himself to stand. He walked toward the door, his heart hammered. The hallway beyond remained completely dark. Nothing moved, nothing breathed, nothing waited. He opened the door. The corridor was empty, yet something immediately caught his attention. Mud. Fresh, muddy footprints covered the floor. Dozens of them, bare footprints, leading down the hallway, toward the staircase, toward the darkness below. Ethan shined his flashlight after them. The beam revealed something impossible. The footprints were wet, as if whoever made them had walked through rain moments ago. But every window upstairs was locked. No one should have been inside. He swallowed hard, then began following them, one careful step at a time. The footprints led downstairs, across the entrance hall, toward a door he hadn't noticed earlier. A narrow wooden door beneath the staircase. The handle was old, black, rotting. The muddy prints disappeared underneath it. The door slowly creaked open by itself. Ethan's flashlight trembled. A staircase descended into darkness. A basement. Cold air drifted upward. The smell hit him instantly. Damp earth. Old. And something else. Something rotten. Far below, he heard a sound. A child laughing. Very softly. Then another voice. Then another. Then dozens. Children laughing in the darkness. Ethan stepped backward. Every instinct told him to leave immediately. Instead, curiosity won. He started descending. The wooden steps groaned beneath his weight. The laughter grew louder, closer. The beam of his flashlight revealed stone walls covered in strange carvings. Names, hundreds of names, carved directly into the stone. Some looked decades old, others appeared fresh, recent, as if someone had carved them yesterday. Halfway down the stairs, Ethan found something that made his blood run cold. His own name. Ethan Carter, scratched into the wall, waiting for him. The letters looked old, very old, as though they had been there for years, long before he arrived, long before anyone should have known he existed. The laughter suddenly stopped. Every voice vanished at once. The silence was worse, much worse, because now he could hear breathing, not his own, something else, something standing in the darkness below, listening, waiting. And then a voice emerged, a deep voice, ancient, wet, impossible. We remember you. Ethan swung his flashlight downward. The beam struck a figure at the bottom of the stairs, a tall woman wearing a black dress, her face hidden behind strands of long dark hair, motionless, watching. The light flickered. For 1 second her face became visible, and Ethan nearly screamed, because it wasn't a face. It was hundreds of faces, human faces, children, adults, old people, all fused together beneath pale skin, every mouth moving, every eye blinking, every expression trapped in silent agony. The creature smiled. Thousands of teeth appeared, and the flashlight died. Darkness swallowed everything. From somewhere below came the sound of footsteps, running upward, toward him, fast, very fast, and in the darkness, hundreds of voices began screaming his name. The footsteps exploded from the darkness below. Fast, too fast. Ethan stumbled backward up the basement stairs as hundreds of voices screamed his name. Ethan, Ethan, Ethan. The sound didn't come from one throat, it came from many. Hundreds, maybe thousands. The darkness itself seemed alive. Something was climbing after him. Something that scraped against the walls as it moved. Wood cracked, stone shattered, the entire staircase shook. Ethan ran. His dead flashlight slipped from his hand and disappeared into the darkness behind him. He didn't stop to retrieve it. He didn't stop to look back. Every instinct in his body screamed one command: run. He burst through the basement door and slammed it shut. The impact echoed through the house. For a moment, everything became silent. Then, boom, something struck the other side. The door bulged inward. Another hit, harder. The old wood groaned. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ethan backed away. His heart pounded so violently he thought he might pass out. Another impact shook the door. Then another. Then another. Suddenly, silence. The attack stopped. No movement, no sounds, nothing. The house became unnaturally quiet. Even the storm outside seemed distant. Ethan stared at the door for nearly a minute, waiting, listening. Nothing happened. Finally, he grabbed his camera and hurried toward the front entrance. He was leaving. No photos, no explanations, no YouTube video. Just leave. Get in the car. Drive. Never come back. Simple. He reached the front door and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't move. Locked. He pulled harder. Nothing. The door felt welded shut. What? He twisted the handle again. Still nothing. A wave of panic spread through his chest. He rushed to a nearby window. The glass wouldn't budge either. Neither would the second, or the third. Every exit in the house had somehow become sealed, as if the building itself had decided he wasn't allowed to leave. A loud creak echoed from upstairs. Ethan froze. Someone was walking above him, slowly, deliberately. One step, then another, then another. He looked toward the staircase. Darkness covered the second floor, but something stood at the top. A silhouette, tall, motionless, watching him. Lightning flashed outside. For a fraction of a second, the figure became visible. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, wearing an old-fashioned white dress. Her skin was pale, almost gray. Long black hair covered most of her face, but Ethan could still see one eye, a completely black eye. No white, no pupil, just darkness. The girl smiled, then vanished. Not ran, not moved, vanished, as though she had never been there. Ethan stared in disbelief. His rational mind desperately searched for an explanation. A prank, a hallucination, a dream, anything. But deep down he already knew. Something was horribly wrong, and it had been waiting for him. The rest of the night passed in terror. Ethan barricaded himself inside an upstairs bedroom. He pushed furniture against the door. A heavy dresser, a desk, 2 chairs, anything he could find. Then he sat in the corner clutching a kitchen knife he had discovered downstairs. The weapon felt pathetic, a toy against whatever lived in the house. Hours crawled by. Outside, the storm continued. Inside, strange sounds echoed through the walls. Whispers, footsteps, soft crying. At one point, he heard someone humming a lullaby directly outside the room. A woman's voice, gentle, almost comforting, yet somehow worse than the screaming. The humming continued for nearly an hour, never moving away, never getting closer, just waiting, patiently, like a spider beside its web. Toward dawn, exhaustion finally overcame fear. Ethan drifted into an uneasy sleep. He dreamed of the house, or perhaps it wasn't a dream. He stood inside a long hallway, illuminated by candlelight. The walls stretched endlessly in both directions. Portraits covered every surface, thousands of portraits, each one depicting a different person, children, adults, elderly men and women, all staring directly at him. As he walked forward, something strange happened. The people inside the paintings began moving, breathing, turning their heads. Their eyes followed him. Then they started speaking. Not loudly. Whispers. Hundreds of whispers. Thousands. Overlapping each other. Creating a sea of voices. Help us. Don't let it take you. It's inside the walls. It remembers. It remembers everything. Ethan tried covering his ears. The voices continued, growing louder, desperate, terrified. Then every portrait suddenly turned toward the same direction, toward the end of the hallway. Someone was standing there. A woman. The same creature from the basement. The woman with countless faces beneath her skin. She smiled. The hallway darkened. The paintings began screaming. And Ethan woke up. Sunlight filled the bedroom. Morning. For a brief moment, relief washed through him. Daylight. Safety. Reality. Then he noticed the wall beside his bed. Written in deep scratches were 3 words. We remember you. Ethan stared. His blood turned cold. The message hadn't been there before. He knew it. He was certain. Slowly he backed away. Then he noticed something even worse. Fresh scratches covered the floor around the bed. Hundreds of them. As though dozens of hands had crawled around him while he slept. He hadn't heard a thing. By noon, Ethan was searching the house for answers. If he couldn't leave, he needed to understand what was happening. The house was enormous, far larger on the inside than it appeared from outside. Some hallways seemed to change position. Doors led to rooms he swore hadn't existed earlier. At one point, he opened a closet and discovered a staircase descending into darkness. When he checked again, 10 minutes later, the staircase was gone. Just a normal closet. The architecture made no sense. The house behaved like a living organism, shifting, growing, changing, watching. Near the 3rd floor, he discovered a locked room. Unlike the others, this door appeared newer. Heavy iron locks covered it. Chains wrapped around the handle. Someone had gone to great lengths to keep whatever was inside from escaping or entering. Using tools found elsewhere in the house, Ethan eventually broke the locks. The chains fell away. The door slowly opened. Dust filled the air. Inside sat a small study. Bookshelves lined every wall. An old desk occupied the center of the room, and upon the desk rested a leather journal. Ethan opened it. The first page contained a date, October 17th, 1974. Below it was a name, Samuel Graves, the journal's owner. The handwriting trembled as if written by someone terrified. The first entry read, "The house has begun learning my memories." Ethan frowned. He continued reading. At first, I thought I was imagining things, small details appearing where they should not. Childhood photographs I never brought here, drawings from school, toys from my youth. Then it grew worse. The house started speaking with voices from my past. My mother, my brother, people who have been dead for years. It knows things no one should know. Ethan turned the page. More entries, more fear, more desperation. The house is not haunted. The house is the ghost. A chill ran down his spine. He kept reading. It feeds on memory. Every person who enters becomes part of it. Their memories remain alive inside the walls. Their faces remain alive too. I can hear them at night, begging. The next page contained only one sentence, written repeatedly, over and over, dozens of times. Don't let it remember your name. The final pages were stained with what looked like dried blood. Samuel's handwriting had become nearly illegible. It has found me. I can hear them inside the walls. They wear the faces of people I love. If anyone finds this, burn the house. Burn. The entry ended abruptly. No explanation. No farewell. Just a broken sentence. A dark handprint. Small, child-sized, pressed into the paper. As Ethan stared at the journal, a voice spoke behind him. Samuel tried. Ethan spun around. A boy stood in the doorway, perhaps 12 years old. Pale skin, dark eyes, old-fashioned clothing. The same unnatural appearance as the little girl. Yet somehow he seemed different, less hostile, more sad than frightening. Ethan stepped backward. Who are you? The boy ignored the question. He couldn't burn it. What are you? The boy's gaze shifted toward the walls. You hear them now, don't you? Ethan remained silent. The child continued. They're trapped. Who? Everyone. The boy looked directly into Ethan's eyes. Everyone the house remembers. A floorboard creaked somewhere below. The boy's expression changed instantly. Fear. Pure fear. He looked toward the hallway. It's awake. What? The boy backed away. You need to hide. What are you talking about? The boy's voice dropped to a whisper. She knows you're here. The temperature inside the room suddenly plummeted. Frost appeared on the windows. The walls groaned. Far away, somewhere deep within the house, a woman began singing. The same lullaby Ethan had heard during the night. The boy looked terrified. Run! Then he vanished. Not disappeared, not faded, simply gone, as though reality had erased him. Closer now. Much closer. Ethan slowly turned toward the hallway. At the far end stood the woman. The impossible woman. The one with countless faces. She wasn't moving. She simply stood there, smiling, watching, and one by one the faces beneath her skin began opening their eyes. The singing drifted through the hallway like cold smoke. Soft, gentle, almost beautiful. That was what made it terrifying, because Ethan knew the thing producing that voice was not human. The woman stood at the end of the corridor, motionless, watching. The countless faces beneath her pale skin slowly opened their eyes. Hundreds of eyes. Then hundreds more. Blinking independently, staring at him, following every movement. A little girl's face emerged from the woman's neck. An old man's face pushed outward from her shoulder. A crying infant appeared beneath one cheek before sinking back into her flesh. The skin moved constantly, like something alive crawled beneath it. Ethan's stomach twisted. The sight felt wrong. Not merely frightening, wrong. As though his mind had encountered something it was never meant to understand. The woman smiled wider. The faces beneath her skin smiled too. Some cried, some screamed silently. Others looked directly at Ethan with desperate terror. One face mouthed 2 words, "Help me," then vanished beneath the flesh. The singing stopped. Silence filled the hallway. The woman tilted her head and spoke. But it wasn't one voice, it was many. Thousands layered together. Men, women, children, old and young, all speaking simultaneously. "We remember you." The floor beneath Ethan vibrated. The walls groaned. Pictures hanging nearby began shaking. Something inside the house was awakening. The woman took a step forward, then another, slow, patient, like she knew escape was impossible. Ethan ran. He sprinted down the staircase. His footsteps echoed through the house. Behind him came no chase, no running, no pursuit, only silence. Somehow that felt worse. Every horror movie he'd ever watched taught him that monsters chased their victims. This thing didn't need to. It knew something he didn't, something terrible. The house itself seemed different now. The hallways had changed. Doors stood where walls should have been. Windows disappeared. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the floor. At one point, Ethan passed a mirror. His reflection wasn't moving. He stopped. The reflection remained still, watching him, smiling. Ethan immediately looked away and continued running. He wasn't going to investigate. Not anymore. Curiosity had nearly gotten him killed. He eventually reached the first-floor library. The room contained hundreds of books. Dust covered every shelf. The air smelled old, ancient, safe, at least compared to the hallway upstairs. Ethan slammed the door shut behind him, then pushed a heavy bookshelf against it. His hands trembled. His breathing refused to slow. For several minutes, he simply stood there listening. Nothing. No singing. No footsteps, no voices. The silence slowly calmed him. Then he noticed something strange. One shelf contained no dust whatsoever. Every other surface in the room appeared neglected. But these books looked recently touched, recently used. Ethan approached. Most volumes appeared ordinary, history books, religious texts, local records. Nothing unusual. Until he found one black leather book. No title, no author, no markings whatsoever. When he opened it, his blood turned cold. Every page contained photographs, hundreds of photographs. People, different decades, different eras, different styles of clothing. Some pictures looked over a century old, others seemed recent. The same thing connected them all. Every person in every photograph stared directly into the camera with absolute terror. And behind every person stood the woman. Sometimes distant, sometimes close, sometimes barely visible. Always watching, always smiling. Ethan turned pages faster. The photographs continued. 1923, 1924, 1925, 1926, 1927, 1928. Dozens of years, dozens of victims. Then he reached the final page. His heart stopped. A photograph stared back at him. A photograph of himself, standing outside the house, taken the day he arrived. The angle suggested someone had been watching from an upstairs window. On the bottom of the image, someone had written, "Next." A sound came from behind him. A page turning. Ethan slowly looked over his shoulder. Someone sat at a nearby table. An old woman. She hadn't been there moments earlier. He was certain. Her gray hair hung across her face. Wrinkled hands rested atop an open book. She calmly turned. Another page. Ignoring him. As though her appearance in a locked room was perfectly normal. Ethan stepped backward. The old woman continued reading. Then she spoke, without looking up. "You shouldn't stay here after dark." Her voice sounded normal, human, which somehow made everything worse. "Who are you?" Ethan asked. The woman smiled. "A prisoner." She turned another page, like everyone else. Ethan remained frozen. The old woman finally looked up, and Ethan nearly screamed, because she had no eyes. Only empty sockets, dark holes, nothing inside. Yet somehow she still appeared capable of seeing him. "You met her, didn't you?" the woman asked. "The mother," Ethan swallowed. "The thing upstairs?" The old woman's smile vanished. "Don't call her a thing." Fear entered her voice. Raw, ancient fear. "She listens." The room became colder. The woman immediately lowered her head, as if realizing she'd said too much. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Ethan asked the question haunting him since arriving. "What is this house?" The old woman stared at him. A long silence followed. Then she answered, "This house isn't haunted." Ethan remembered the journal, the same words. The old woman continued, "The house is alive." Outside, thunder shook the sky. The library darkened. The old woman's voice became quieter, almost a whisper. It was built in 1888. By who? She looked toward the ceiling. "People think a wealthy family lived here first. That's not true." Her empty eye sockets seemed focused on something distant, something long forgotten. "The house was already here." "What do you mean?" "It existed before the town." Ethan frowned. The woman nodded slowly. "As impossible as that sounds." A floorboard creaked somewhere above. The old woman flinched, then continued. "The first settlers found it waiting." "Waiting for what?" "You." The answer sent ice through his veins. The old woman smiled sadly. "Not just you. Everyone." She explained what few survivors understood. The house fed on memory. Not flesh, not blood, memory. Every person who entered left something behind. A memory, a fear, a regret, a secret. The house consumed them, collected them, stored them, like photographs, like trophies. Over time, the memories became people, or perhaps echoes of people. Ghosts trapped within the structure, unable to leave, unable to die, forever remembered, forever alive. "The mother keeps them," the old woman whispered. "All of them." Ethan thought of the faces beneath the creature's skin, the screaming eyes, the trapped expressions, the impossible horror. A realization struck him. The old woman nodded, the people she remembers. Silence filled the room. Then Ethan asked the question he already feared. "What happens when she remembers me?" The old woman's expression collapsed. For the first time, genuine pity appeared. "You never leave." A loud bang echoed somewhere inside the house. Both of them jumped. Then another, closer. The old woman stood abruptly. Panic filled her face. "She's searching." The temperature plummeted. Books began falling from shelves. The walls trembled. From somewhere distant came singing, the lullaby, the mother, moving through the house, looking, hunting. The old woman grabbed Ethan's arm. Her fingers felt freezing cold. "You need to find the heart." "The what?" "The heart." Another bang, much closer. A door splintered somewhere nearby. The singing grew louder. The old woman looked terrified. "The house cannot survive without it." "What heart?" But she was already fading, her body becoming translucent, ghost-like. "No time." The woman pointed toward the floor. Below. The singing reached the hallway outside. The old woman vanished, completely gone. At that exact moment, something touched the library door. A soft knock echoed through the room. Once, twice, 3 times. Then a woman's voice spoke from the other side. "Ethan." His blood froze. The voice sounded familiar. Impossible. It sounded exactly like his mother. His mother, who lived hundreds of miles away. His mother, who had never seen this house. "Ethan, sweetheart." The voice trembled. "Please open the door." Tears instantly filled his eyes. because it wasn't merely similar, it was perfect. Every detail, every inflection, every memory. The voice continued, "I'm scared." The bookshelf blocking the entrance suddenly shifted, just slightly, as though something on the other side was testing it, waiting, patiently. "I need your help." Ethan backed away. The journal, the warnings, the voices. "Don't answer, don't listen, don't trust." The mother's voice became softer, more desperate. A pause. Then the words that nearly broke him. "I love you." The bookshelf moved again, harder this time. Something was pushing, slowly, steadily. Ethan turned and ran. The library possessed another exit, a narrow door hidden behind shelves. He burst through it and entered a staircase descending into darkness. Below, exactly as the old woman had instructed, the air became colder with every step. The walls changed from wood to stone, ancient stone, wet stone. Far below he could hear water dripping. The staircase continued longer than seemed physically possible. Minutes passed, then more minutes. Yet he never reached the bottom. The house felt larger inside than outside. Much larger. Almost infinitely larger. Almost infinitely larger. Eventually the stairs ended. Ethan stepped into a vast underground chamber and immediately forgot how to breathe. The cavern stretched beyond sight. Its ceiling vanished into darkness. Stone pillars rose from the ground like gigantic trees, and covering every wall were faces, human faces, thousands, perhaps millions, embedded directly into the stone. Men, women, children, all frozen in expressions of terror. The memory house, its victims, its collection, its archive, every person the house had ever remembered. The faces were alive. At first, Ethan thought it was another illusion, another trick created by the house. Then he saw one blink. A young woman embedded within the stone wall blinked slowly. Her lips trembled, her eyes moved, and she looked directly at him. A moment later, dozens of other faces moved too. Some cried, some whispered, some stared silently. Others appeared completely insane. Their mouths opened and closed as though they had been screaming for centuries. The cavern echoed with countless voices, a never-ending chorus of suffering. "Help us, please. It's coming. Don't let her find you." Ethan staggered backward. The sheer scale of it was impossible. The walls stretched endlessly into darkness, and every inch of stone contained human faces. Thousands, tens of thousands, perhaps more. Every victim the house had ever claimed, every memory it had stolen, every life it had trapped. Forever. A low rumble shook the cavern. Dust drifted from above. The whispers immediately stopped. Every face became silent, terrified, watching something behind Ethan. Slowly, he turned. His blood froze. The mother stood among the stone pillars, watching, smiling. She hadn't made a sound. She simply existed there, as though she had always been there, waiting. The countless faces beneath her skin shifted restlessly. Hundreds of eyes opened. Hundreds of mouths smiled. Then the mother took a step forward. The cavern trembled. Another step. The walls groaned. A third step. And every trapped face in the cavern began screaming. Not from pain, from fear. They were afraid of her. Even after death, even after decades, perhaps centuries, they still feared her. And that terrified Ethan more than anything else. The mother raised one pale hand. Immediately the screaming stopped. Silence returned. Absolute silence. Then she spoke. "Do you understand now?" Thousands of voices emerged from her mouth. A monstrous chorus. Male, female, young, old, all speaking together. This is what memory becomes. Ethan backed away. The mother continued walking. Slowly, patiently, as though there was no need to hurry. This town forgot. Another step. They forgot who built this place. Another. They forgot why I came. Another. But I remember. The darkness around her seemed alive, moving, breathing, watching. And for the first time, Ethan noticed something impossible. The shadows weren't shadows. They were people. Transparent figures standing around her. Hundreds of them. Ghosts. Their faces twisted with terror. Bound to her. Following wherever she went. The mother smiled. And one ghost stepped forward. A little girl. The same girl Ethan had seen upstairs. The child looked at him sadly. Then she whispered, "Run." The cavern exploded into chaos. The mother lunged, not running, not walking. The space between them simply disappeared. One moment she stood 30 feet away, the next she was directly in front of him. Ethan barely avoided her grasp. Her fingers sliced through the air where his head had been. The stone pillar behind him shattered instantly. Rock exploded outward. Fragments flew across the cavern. Ethan ran. The mother followed. Not quickly, not slowly, inevitably, like death itself. No matter where he turned, she remained behind him, always the same distance away, always smiling. The cavern stretched endlessly. Pillars rose like forests. Faces watched from every wall. And through it all, the mother's lullaby echoed in the darkness. A song older than the town, older than the house, perhaps older than memory itself. Then Ethan saw it, far ahead, a red glow, faint, pulsing, like a heartbeat. The heart. The old woman had mentioned it. The house cannot survive without it. The glow intensified as he approached, and suddenly the cavern opened into a massive chamber. Ethan stopped, speechless. At the center of the room hung something enormous, a gigantic heart, human in shape, yet impossibly large, nearly 30 feet tall, suspended by thousands of black roots, beating slowly. Thump. The entire chamber vibrated. Thump. Warm red light spread through the darkness. Thump. The walls pulsed. The floor pulsed. The house pulsed. Everything moved in rhythm with the monstrous organ. It was alive. The true heart of the memory house. The mother entered the chamber. She looked almost proud, almost loving. She gazed upon the heart like a mother gazing at her child. Then she looked at Ethan. Beautiful, isn't it? The countless voices spoke softly. This is memory. The heart beat again. Thump. Images suddenly appeared around Ethan, floating in the air, transparent, ghostly, memories. A boy learning to ride a bicycle, a family eating dinner, a wedding, a birthday party. Thousands of memories filled the chamber. Happy memories, sad memories, ordinary memories. Every memory the house had ever stolen, stored forever, preserved forever. The mother smiled. I saved them. The images swirled around her. They would disappear otherwise. Thump. The heart beat harder. More memories appeared. More lives. More stolen moments. An entire history trapped within the darkness. Ethan stared in horror because he recognized one of them. His own memory. His 10th birthday. His parents smiling. His friends laughing. A moment he hadn't thought about in years. Yet here it was, perfectly preserved. The house had already begun taking him. The mother approached. You belong here. Her voice echoed through the chamber. You always did. Ethan shook his head. No. You came because you were meant to. No. The mother's smile widened. Everyone comes because they are meant to. The chamber darkened. The heart beat faster. Thump. Thump. The roots hanging from the ceiling began moving. Like living snakes. Like veins. They stretched toward Ethan. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Reaching. Searching. Hungry. Then a voice shouted, Ethan! Not the mother, not the house, someone else. The ghost boy. He appeared atop a stone ledge overlooking the chamber. Transparent. Terrified. Destroy the heart. The mother froze. For the first time, genuine anger appeared on her face. The temperature instantly dropped. Frost covered the floor. The heart's rhythm became violent. Thump, thump, thump. The mother turned toward the boy. Every face beneath her skin screamed. A sound so horrible, Ethan nearly collapsed. The boy didn't run, didn't hide. Instead, he pointed toward the heart. Now. Ethan looked around desperately. A rusted iron rod lay among fallen stones nearby. Not much, but enough. He grabbed it. The mother moved, faster than before. The darkness exploded around her. Ghosts screamed. The chamber shook violently. The roots descended. Hundreds of black tendrils reaching for Ethan. He ran toward the heart. 20 feet, 15, 10. The roots wrapped around his legs. He fell hard. The iron rod slipped from his hand. The mother laughed. Thousands of voices laughing together. The sound filled the cavern. 5 feet. The rod lay just beyond reach. The heart thundered above him. Thump, thump, thump. The roots tightened, dragging him backward, toward the mother, toward the darkness, toward eternity. And Ethan realized something horrifying. The faces trapped within the walls weren't screaming anymore. They were watching, waiting, hoping, as though everything depended on what happened next. As though this moment had been coming for a very long time. The iron rod rested inches away. The heart pulsed overhead. The mother smiled, and the entire house began to shake. The iron rod lay inches away. The black roots tightened around Ethan's legs. The heart thundered above him. Thump. The entire chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The trapped faces in the walls stared silently, watching, waiting, hoping. The mother stood only a few feet away, smiling, patient, certain of victory, because nobody had ever escaped. Nobody had ever reached this point, and nobody had ever threatened the heart. The roots pulled Ethan backward, slowly, steadily, dragging him toward the darkness behind her, toward the endless collection of memories trapped within the house, toward eternity. Then another voice echoed through the chamber, a child's voice. Fight! The ghost boy. He stood atop the stone ledge, his transparent form flickering like candlelight. The mother turned toward him. For the first time, her smile vanished completely. Fear appeared in her countless eyes, only for a second, but Ethan saw it, and that terrified him more than anything else. Because monsters don't fear, unless something worse exists. The boy jumped from the ledge. Instead of falling, he drifted downward like smoke. The mother stepped backward. The walls trembled. The heart beat faster. Thump, thump, thump. The ghost boy looked directly at Ethan. She lied. The mother screamed. The sound exploded through the cavern. Thousands of voices screaming simultaneously. The roots tightened instantly, trying to silence him, trying to stop him. Boy continued. She isn't protecting memories. The chamber darkened. The mother's skin rippled violently. The faces beneath it twisted in agony. She's hiding from something. Ethan stared. What? The boy looked upward, toward the darkness above, toward the ancient stone ceiling, toward something unseen. And then he whispered, "Foregoing." The word echoed strangely, almost unnaturally. The mother recoiled, as if the word itself hurt her. The boy continued, "Before towns, before roads, before people, she existed." The darkness around the chamber began moving, shifting. The shadows thickened. The air grew cold. very cold. The boy's voice became distant, as though speaking across centuries. She was the first memory. The mother screamed again. Stone cracked, pillars shattered. The heart pounded harder. But the truth continued. Before humanity had written history, before names existed, something had been born. Not a creature, not a ghost, a memory of existence itself, a consciousness that could never be forgotten, a thought that refused to disappear. As civilizations rose and fell, as generations came and went, the memory remained, growing, learning, watching, until eventually it discovered fear. The fear of being forgotten. And once it learned fear, everything changed, because it began collecting memories, stealing them, keeping them, building a prison from them. A house, a town, a trap, anything necessary to ensure it would never disappear. The mother wasn't feeding, she was hiding. From oblivion, from non-existence, from the one thing she could never defeat, being forgotten. Ethan's mind raced. The ghost boy pointed toward the heart. Destroy it. The mother lunged. The chamber exploded into chaos. Roots burst from every surface. The walls opened. Thousands of trapped faces screamed. Ghosts emerged from the stone. Hundreds, perhaps thousands. Transparent figures filling the darkness. The victims, the remembered, the lost. For years they had been prisoners. Now they were moving. Toward the mother. Toward freedom. The mother roared. The sound shook reality itself. Her body expanded. The faces beneath her skin multiplied. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. Eyes opened across her body. Mouths appeared. Hands emerged from impossible places. The creature towered above the chamber, no longer resembling a woman, no longer resembling anything human. Only memory, raw memory, ancient and terrified. The roots around Ethan loosened, just enough. He stretched. His fingers brushed the iron rod, then grabbed it. Immediately the heart reacted. The red glow intensified. The chamber vibrated violently, and every eye turned toward him. Every single eye. Thousands upon thousands, watching. The silence that followed felt worse than screaming. Then she spoke, not with thousands of voices, only one. A single, lonely voice. The voice of a frightened woman. Please. Ethan froze. The mother looked smaller somehow. Sad, ancient, exhausted. Her voice cracked. I disappear. The chamber became silent. Even the ghosts stopped moving. The mother's eyes filled with something unexpected. Not anger, not hatred. Fear. Pure fear, standing at the edge of a cliff. A child lost in darkness. The fear of death. For the first time, Ethan realized something. The mother wasn't evil in the way he imagined. She was terrified. Terrified for so long that she had become a monster. Please, the word echoed softly. I don't want to be forgotten. The heart slowed. Thump, thump. The trapped faces watched. The ghosts watched. Everything watched, waiting for Ethan's decision. The mother extended one trembling hand. I can keep them. Her eyes filled with desperation. I can keep everyone. You, your family, your memories, forever. The offer hung in the darkness. Ethan looked around, at the trapped faces, the endless suffering, the prison, the loneliness, the centuries, forever. The mother believed she was saving people, but she wasn't. She was preserving them. Like insects trapped in amber, unable to live, unable to die, unable to move forward, frozen forever, because she feared letting go. And suddenly Ethan understood. Memory wasn't meant to last forever. That's what made memories valuable. Their fragility, their impermanence, their ability to fade. Nothing could grow. Nothing could heal. Nothing could move on. The ghost boy nodded, as if reading Ethan's thoughts. The mother understood too. Her expression collapsed. A terrible sadness spread across her countless faces, because she already knew the truth. She had always known, and she had spent centuries running from it. The heart beat once more. Thump. Ethan raised the iron rod. The mother closed her eyes. No, the chamber trembled. Ghosts gathered around the edges, watching silently. The boy whispered, "End it," and Ethan drove the iron rod into the heart. The world stopped for one impossible second. Everything froze. No sound, no movement, no time. Then, crack, a thin fracture appeared across the heart. Red light burst through it. The mother screamed, not in anger, in grief. The crack spread, then another, then another. The chamber filled with blinding light. The roots shriveled. The walls split apart. The trapped faces began disappearing, one by one, not dying, leaving, finally free. Ghosts filled the cavern, thousands of them. Men, women, children. Families reunited after generations. Friends finding friends. Loved ones finding loved ones. The darkness retreated. The house trembled violently. The heart shattered. Light exploded across the underground world. The mother stood at its center, alone, for the first time. The countless faces vanished from her skin. The eyes disappeared. The mouths disappeared. The horror disappeared. And Ethan saw what she originally looked like. A woman, nothing more. A lonely woman standing beneath endless light. Tears streamed down her face. She looked toward the departing spirits, toward the memories leaving her forever. And somehow she smiled. A real smile. Not a monster smile. Peaceful. Relieved. Then she looked at Ethan. "Thank you." Her voice sounded ordinary, warm, human, the way it might have sounded thousands of years ago. Before fear, before obsession, before the house. Then her body dissolved into light and vanished. The chamber collapsed, stones shattered, pillars fell. The underground world began dying around him. The ghost boy grabbed Ethan's arm. For the first time, Ethan could feel him. "Come on." Together they ran. The staircase appeared ahead, the route back to the surface. Behind them, the memory house was coming apart. Hallways disappeared, rooms crumbled, walls dissolved into dust. The prison was ending. The ghost boy led him through collapsing corridors, past shattered portraits, past broken doors, past empty rooms. Everything the house had stolen was leaving, returning to wherever forgotten things go. They reached the front entrance. Morning sunlight streamed through broken windows. Fresh air rushed inside. For the first time since arriving, Ethan could smell the forest. The real forest. Not the house, not the darkness. Reality. He turned toward the ghost boy. The child smiled. The sadness was gone. The fear was gone. Only peace remained. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. The boy hesitated, then laughed softly. "I don't remember." A strange answer, yet somehow beautiful, because he no longer needed to. The boy's form slowly faded. "You'll forget this place someday." Ethan shook his head. "No." The boy smiled. "That's the point." Then he disappeared. Outside, the house groaned one final time. Ethan stepped onto the grass. The sky above Black Hollow was clear. Blue. Beautiful. Behind him, the memory house collapsed inward. Not dramatically, not violently. Almost peacefully, like a tired old creature finally going to sleep. The walls crumbled. The roof fell. The foundation cracked. And within minutes, nothing remained except ruins. The prison was gone. The heart was gone. The mother was gone. At last, 3 months later, Ethan sat in his apartment hundreds of miles away. Life had returned to normal, mostly. The photographs from Black Hollow had vanished, every one of them. His recordings, too, gone, as though the house had never existed. When he searched online, he found almost nothing. No records, no articles, no mentions. Even Black Hollow seemed strangely difficult to locate. Sometimes he wondered if any of it had happened. Sometimes he convinced himself it was a nightmare. Then, late one evening, he discovered something. A photograph in his camera bag. One photograph, the only surviving image. It showed a group of people standing in sunlight. Men, women, children, smiling, free. And near the center stood the ghost boy, waving, happy, at peace. Ethan smiled, then placed the photograph in a drawer. Years later, he would forget exactly where it came from. Eventually, he would forget the house, the mother, the town, the terror. Most memories fade. That's what they're supposed to do. But sometimes, on quiet nights, just before sleep, he still hears a distant lullaby carried by the wind. Soft, gentle, almost comforting. And somewhere far away, in a place beyond memory, a lonely voice whispers, "Thank you for remembering me."